Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening. How are you, people?
Good evening, Loksai. You all are good.
Good evening. All are good. Nice. Okay, so shall we?
Yes. Yeah.
We are on 20th Feb, huh? All right, so today we'll be discussing about the fundamentals of application build tool called Maven. And then we'll be having an introduction to build orchestration tool called Jenkins. Okay, so just introduction will have, maybe it depends upon the time, and then we'll focus on the dedicated Jenkins module from tomorrow. All right. So fundamentals of application build tool, actually, that is promptly we're going to talk about Maven.
I just want to ask one question.
Okay. So as part of this application process, right, like in our yesterday session, I mean, not yesterday session, during our DevOps introduction itself, like if you can see here, we have started with the development stage, right? Continuous development. So as part of continuous development, the main agenda is to identify the source code from the source code repository. So on that perspective, we have covered the repository management yesterday, till yesterday, right? We are good with that. And when it comes to the integration, continuous integration, what are the activities you're going to perform, right? We are going to perform the application build. We are going to perform the unit testing, and then only the code can be promoted to the higher environment. So in order to perform these activities like code build and code compilation, as well as artifact creation and the unit testing, what are the tools we are going to use in real-time environment and how we are going to use it in DevOps workflow, correct? So that is what we're going to learn in this particular module. But before I get into this particular topic, all right, related to this Maven, I believe you must have covered till GitHub, right? GitHub repository management, as well as handling it through your Visual Studio Code. You get a chance to practice everything, starting from the git CLI commands from the local machine, like repository creation process and workflow, right? Any question related to previous module?
Yes, I am having one question.
Yeah, tell me,
If
please.
in the Git repository, there was an option to delete the branch, or if
Okay.
I want to delete a file, is there option in that repository, remote repository?
Yeah, we do have, right? Just click on the file name
Okay.
and you have an option to edit a file, right? There is a option, right? You'll be getting to edit the file. Have you noticed?
No, I have not noticed that.
See,
Let me.
this is our repository. Assume that this is our training repository which we have created. And as part of our Git module, we have created some other repositories also like test repo 1 or
Yes,
2 and all.
yes, yes,
So these are all the list of files we have, right?
yes.
So if you click on any file which you're interested to work, you have an option to edit a file,
Okay, right.
right? I hope you must be
Yeah,
observing this.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
every day I'm doing this
Yeah,
option
yeah,
only,
yeah.
right?
I have observed.
To
Sorry.
update the changes, right? And
Yes.
if you want, you can download, or if you want to copy the file, everything is possible. And if you use this drop down, you can able to see there is an option to edit in place. And in addition to that, you can able to see this option here, right? Like a download option is there, jump, everything. What are things you are seeing? It's just a custom quick
Yeah.
option. And if you get it in this context menu for more actions, you can find that option, delete a file.
Okay.
But just explore, okay, it's a user interface, right? So Just explore it. You have answer there.
Okay.
This is the one you are asking. You had or
Yes, only
anything
I
else?
was not getting the delete option because I have not gone there. So I wanted to delete one file, so I was not able to do that.
Okay. Okay. So how about others? Are we good with the process Git module? Any other
Sai,
questions? Yeah.
when do we use uh, Git reset soft? Is there any application? Just you're moving the commit to staging area, right?
No, Git
Previously.
reset soft is one of the options available.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to move it back to your staging area. But in most of the cases in real-time environment, we never use that option.
When never use. Why? Because there is
Correct.
no functionality of it, right? I think if you want to change commit message, you can do that, I think.
Not like that. See, assume that I have made a commit. Okay, listen carefully. I made some commit in my repository, but there are some other associated commits I have to make so that that particular logical unit of work will get completed. Correct? So I need to make a few more commits to complete my task. During this process, I got a requirement from other repository or other branch. I need to work on some hotfix changes. I need to work on some production issues. So what I can do, I can quickly take it back to my staging area. From there, I can able to stash it to a temporary file, temporary area, and I can able to continue with my work. Right? We learned about stashing, remember?
Stashing, correct. Temporary, moving it to
Yeah.
temporary
So
area.
if your logical bit of work is not yet done, if you are just half completed, right? So, but still you cannot, go back and, revisit other things. Why? Because it is an incomplete content on logical business objective, actually. I'm not talking about technical point. On business objective, that particular commit is still incomplete.
Incomplete.
So in such scenarios, you can smartly act. Correct. It's all our requirement. No, we have the content with us. We have the technique with us. So just think and implement. That's all. Got my point now?
Yeah.
Yes. So any other question from others?
Yeah. Hi. So I have
Please
created.
utilize the time. Okay. Please be louder. I'm not sure why I'm very.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now it's
Yeah.
much better. Mm.
Yeah. So I've created a remote repo with the main and feature branch. Okay. So I cloned it to the local repo. So now I have deleted a feature branch from the remote repository. So if I made a pull request from the remote repo, will that feature branch will be existed in our local local repo, or it will be deleted automatically? Or do we need to delete it manually?
See, it will be in sync. Once you delete from your remote environment, and if you use a pull, right, it will get updated with what you had in your remote.
So the feature will be updated.
Yes, yes, the entire thing will get updated. That is what the repost level synchronization, right?
Okay, got it.
And another important thing here is while working on any such requirements, will be, using a pull command. Okay, don't use a fetch command, just use a pull command so that the change will be reflecting there.
Sure. Thank you.
So any other question from anyone?
Looks like yesterday I just
Yesterday you had a what is it called? Mentoring session, right? Have you all attended it or like hello?
Yes, we have attended.
Yes,
Okay then.
we
Yes,
are.
sir.
Okay then. Fine. So what is the question? Sorry, I missed your question. Pradeep, right? Yeah.
actually looks like yesterday I just created a scenario to work on the merge conflict. That time I just encountered something called ORT strategy for merging. What is it actually? It's not created any merge conflict. Actually, it gives you open the VA editor and it asks us to edit the merge files, and it shows that it is ORT strategy to merge the files.
Yeah, it is trying to create a merge in a separate path. There is something called Git work tree. That
Okay.
working tree should be in a linear fashion. right? If there is any conflict in maintaining the linearity, it will try to create a parallel path. Correct. So you have to explicitly, remove those parallel path and bring it to a linear path. Always a Git repository should have a linear path. That is a recommendation. So you must have done a commit from multiple branches to the same repository without synchronizing changes.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I just done
Uh,
first feature one and just feature
that is what.
2.
So without using rebase or without synchronizing your changes, if you try to commit your merge your changes from multiple branches on the target branch, it expects you to manually, linearize it. Actually, that is what the point.
Okay.
Got it. So that is what. Okay. So before you merge, do a detailed review. As like that, we're not
So
supposed to merge it.
so if you have to merge, you have to be in a synchronized manner. Then only you have to merge another thing, right?
Yeah, that's
Top
what.
of
No, that's
that.
what they expect, right? Like.
Yeah. Okay. Understand.
Even that is what I showcase, right, during your rebase also.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
Without
after
proper review, without proper rebase, what happens?
After sawing a video, I just done this the same thing again. I just created the merge conflict scenario and just worked on. Before that, I just worked on this kind of things. I don't
That
understand
is
why
what.
it's created that.
That's the
Just
reason.
want to understand that. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, any other questions? Right. So you're all maintaining the remote repository, right, with the main branch. Correct.
So, Sai,
And you should know how to rename it. Sorry, your voice is breaking here.
Sai, can I just send you a record request? Why? Because in the afternoon we are getting the link. So we will be in office. As soon as we come out of the office, we have to attend the class. So in the meanwhile, we will not have any time. So if I record now, at least in the morning, I can review.
No. You need to check with your support team. I don't think so. Not sure. Like, please check with your support team. They will provide.
Okay.
Right. So just get the confirmation, or just get their inputs and then act accordingly.
Okay.
And yes, by following the class notes, you can able to manage, right? Like, class notes are helpful, right?
Yes, I.
Okay. Fine. So anything we are missing here, or all good?
One more thing,
If you,
we are using Git Bash also to connect the remote repository, and also that Visual Studio, it is already inbuilt all the that pull request commit. So these all are the features, right? Because uh, uh, for using Bash, we are typing all the commands and all those things, but in Visual Studio, it is already everything is inbuilt and nothing has to be typed or do something. So as per organizations, they will provide us to work like this, or are you getting?
see, there are two things here.
Yes.
One is on developers' perspective. Developers are actually responsible to create their business application logic, right? They are the application developers.
Yes.
If they want, they can able to create an application program and save it in their notepad like this, and
Okay.
they can able to compile it. But
Mm.
as per the DevOps process, we are encouraging developers to use a version control system like Git, so that it can able to track the changes, and it will be easy for them to what do you call that, revert the changes or everything. Correct.
Yes.
So we are introducing some new thing to the development team. While introducing some new things that should reduce their effort, if we ask them to learn all these commands, no one will come forward to utilize these features. So
Okay.
for development perspective, we always encourage them to use an IDE, that is Eclipse or Visual Studio Code. This is what I was telling, right?
Yes.
So they'll be easily creating their application source code using Eclipse or Visual Studio Code. And through that IDE itself, they can able to use that Git plugin feature, which is installed in the IDE. They can just with a simple mouse click events, they can quickly connect to the remote repositories, make some commits, everything is possible. So they no need to worry about their CLI commands. Then why we are learning it means the next view is DevOps perspective.
Okay.
As a DevOps engineer, what will be your role on this Git and GitHub means we are responsible to maintain the application source code build and deployment, this process automation, right? Let's say, for example, developer has created the source code and published into the source code repository. Now you are going to create an automation script and you are going to perform application build. To perform the application build through your script, you need a source code, right? So how can you bring that source code to your build environment? What is the command to copy the remote repository to local build environment? Git clone.
Clone.
Correct.
Yes.
Like that, we will be using a lot of CLI commands during the process automation. Easy?
Yes.
So if you want to interact with your GitHub using your CLI commands to do some process automation, you need to learn this CLI commands. Or if you are
As
just a
DevOps.
developer,
Hmm.
if you're just a developer, developers are just the consumers, right? I told you,
Yes.
right? They are not the actual, owner of this. They're just the consumers. So they no need to be worry about the core commands and all, but they should know about it, the functionality wise. And not only this, tomorrow as a DevOps engineers, we will be writing some scripts, right? And all our scripts will be version control in your source code repository only. We'll be having our own dedicated source code repository for managing these scripts, configurations, everything. Is that answered your question?
Yes. So Git and GitHub is very important.
For all,
Yes.
even testing team, everyone needs release management team. Today, Git is a primary skill set for any user working on as part of SDLC.
Got.
All good. Others, I can see a lot of people are available online, but no questions. If you don't have any question, then should I consider everything is clear or you haven't practiced anything? What should I conclude?
Sai, actually, I have one question. So we have the multiple tools for this Git, right? GitHub and GitLab and
Uh-huh.
Azure. So
Uh-huh.
what is the current market is using mostly?
It's not about market actually. Like it's about the customer.
Okay.
Correct. So if you are comfortable working on any open source projects, right, we'll be promptly using GitHub.
Yeah.
GitHub was actually introduced to develop some open source projects only. It is not most of the cases used by the enterprise, though it is
Okay.
having an enterprise capability.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And at enterprise level, we'll be using GitLab
Okay.
or Azure Repos or Bitbucket. Bitbucket also it is uh, getting outdated nowadays. So either you'll be using your GitHub, GitLab, or Azure Repo. These are three things. It is good in progress now.
Okay.
Correct. But
Yeah.
all these things works on same principle. Okay, so only the user interface will be different here and there. But apart from that, everything works on same process. So don't worry on that.
Okay.
If you get an opportunity, I think you have Azure module, right? In the upcoming after this.
Yes, correct.
So there I can show you how you can use your Azure repositories. Also, you must be having AWS, right? So I'll show you how
Yes, sir.
to use AWS code commit. AWS code commit is another repository. Correct.
Okay.
But AWS code commit, it is not that much compared to Azure. Fine, guys. So all good, because I can see it's a new module we are going to start, and Git is something very important module, because most of the interview questions you can expect from this module. What are the concepts we covered so far? It's all based upon interviews. So I expect everyone to go through this thoroughly, practice it thoroughly, and not only that, just revise it. Okay, like it is not like today we are going to start this new module and you'll be focusing only on the new modules. So at least once in a week, go back and go through these Git module topics, what we covered, so that it'll be, at least you can remember all those things. All right. All good.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's talk about the application build. What is a build? What is application build? It is just a process of compiling the source code and creating the
Artifacts.
artifacts. Artifacts means
Binaries.
the executable code of your program, binaries, right? Like there are various types of artifact files. Like we have something called exec, or it can be a war file, or it can be your what is it called, jar file, or if you're working on anything like .NET, will be using DLL files, right? Like this, we have a lot of artifacts that gets created, and as part of your application build, we have to first compile a source code, because the program, whatever we prepare, it will be in a high level language that has to be converted to a machine language or a low level language, right? So to do that, we use this thing. Correct. So let's say, for an example, consider you are writing a Java program. So whenever you write any Java program, is anyone worked in Java or any idea about Java programming prior?
Yes,
Or
sir. I
anyone new to?
Yes, sir. I'm working on it.
Okay. Anyone new to this Java programming language or something? Oh, all are expert in
Yes.
Java.
No. We are
You.
new.
I'm very much new to it.
I'm also
Very
new
much
to
new.
it.
Same here.
That is what expected. Okay. That's what I need actually. If you all are expert,
Ev-
then
ev-
huh?
everything new for me, sir.
Still,
Yes, sir.
hey, what about Git?
Non-IT
He's
background, sir.
talking about the Java, not everything.
No, when you say everything, I'm considering it on this training perspective, right? Do you still consider yourself as a non-IT person?
Yes, sir. B pharmacy.
No.
Oh,
I'm not talking what you have in your on your paper.
Yes, sir.
It's almost 20 days, 19, 15 days now, right? This
Yes,
training.
I attended class, sir. There,
Do you still
but
consider
this.
yourself as a non-IT guy?
Yes, sir.
sir, sir
Huh?
saying you consider yourself you are IT person or non-IT person. After
Non-IT
20
No,
days,
person,
you
we
sir.
can
are
tell that.
we are familiar with Git and Python, and Java
Okay.
is new.
No, there is a person who's still saying he is a non-IT guy, right? He
Yes,
might
sir.
be from non-IT background, but still, are you a non-IT person?
Yes, sir. Non-IT person.
Hey, don't say that, yeah. You are no more a
For
non-IT
him,
person
sir.
now. Okay, listen,
Not able
please.
to understand, sir. Not
Just
able to understand.
come out of that mindset.
Okay.
Got it? If you still have that mindset, please come out of the mindset. You are into DevOps. You are into IT now.
Yes, sir.
First, you should believe that. Then only that interviewer will believe you, right?
Yeah.
Got it? So please come out of that myth
Okay.
and focus on these things. So though you are from non-IT background, you can able to understand all the Git module concepts, everything clear. I'm not asking about whether you practice or not. Are you able to understand or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, understand.
It means you're a perfect IT guy now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, because understanding matters, right?
Yes, sir.
Practice, right? Even if you spend your lifetime also, it won't be sufficient. Seriously. Practice always takes time. It is a continuous process, but understanding matters. So the reason why I'm asking all these things, right? When we are talking about your applications, whether you are from non-IT background or IT background, day to day, right? Whatever the software, what are the tools we use behind the process, we are using some Java-based technologies for sure on your mobile phones through your websites, what are you accessing? Correct. And all the softwares, whatever you downloaded, right? It's all promptly based upon your core Java technologies behind the process. So for that reason only, we are going to take one Java application component and understand how the Java programs can be built and deployed. So if you want to create a Java program, okay, so first we'll be preparing the application project workspace. Workspace means a folder where you can able to write some Java programs. File name can be anything, but the extension of the Java program is .java. Should be saved as .java. Now, when I talk about the interface, like for example, it can be based upon your HTML or anything. So that
React.
user interface, the application user interface will be made in the same folder or the same project. Got it? Say for example, it can be your HTML or it can be your CSS files. So like this, you can able to prepare a project folder and maintain all your application components. It can be a simple Java console application or a web application, right? So whatever the type of project it is, whether you're going to develop a web application or a desktop application, that application source code has to be compiled and the artifacts has to be created. So in earlier days when Java was introduced, we were not using any build tools. Developers, once they write the code, they have to use a Java compiler. There is something called Java C, followed by the program name. They have to manually use this compiler to compile the source code, and then they'll be running the program. Over the period of time, there are a lot of enhancements, a lot of features has been introduced, various releases has been introduced, and as part of that, we can able to see the build can be automated through some build tools. So Maven is one of the Java application build tool. Correct. It is one of the build tools. So apart from Maven, we have other products available in market. We were using Ant. Ant is one of the tools which was used earlier. Even today also some legacy Java programs are still relying on Ant. And apart from there's something called Gradle and
Sir, Gradle.
Maven.
So Gradle is used for, I think, Android, right?
It is also meant for your Java application build only. Either you can use Gradle or Maven to build your program. Got it? So now the point here is why we should learn all these things. we are not going to develop any application. We are not going to write any Java program, but still why we have to prepare this or learn this build tool means on DevOps perspective, listen carefully. So as part of your initial stage, like during your DevOps stages, if you remember, I gave you one pointer, right? What is the role of DevOps? Remember? So we have to automate the application build and deploy it, correct? So as a developer, what we usually do means, what developers will do means, developers create the source code and save it in the application repository, source code repository. That's it. They just create the source code and save the source code repository, and then the repository URL will be shared with the DevOps team. Got it? So we DevOps team use that repository URL and clone it in our environment, build environment to build the code. So do you remember in our previous session, we were talking about the environments, right? What are the environments we have in general?
Productive and non-productive.
What are the environments we have?
Developer environment, test environment.
So in general, sorry?
UAT, QA, production.
Okay. Any other innovations?
Out of scope, we have two. One is production and non-production. In production, we have development and build environment and test environment.
So this is what I expect actually. Okay, so on high level, we can say as non-prod and prod, right? And in this non-prod environments, we can have dev environment and then build environment and then your testing environment. Under testing only, we have something called QA or UAT testing. And once the testing is completed, from here, the changes will be promoted to the production environment, correct? Right? So this is how the application artifacts will flow. So in this dev environment, it is completely owned by the developer. So what the developers are going to do in this dev environment? Any guess?
Yes,
They
sir.
are
Write the
going to
source
develop
code.
the code or they are going to enhance.
What is the role of the developer in the dev environment? Any guess?
Yes, sir. Write the source
Developing,
code.
write the source code or enhance the source code.
Okay.
And they should write the code and push into the environment and take it forward.
Okay. So if you remember in our previous module, I was talking about the continuous integration, remember? Like somewhere
Yes,
I
sir.
was talking about continuous integration. What is continuous integration? Any guess? So if you remember,
Perform the unit testing.
it is just a process of integrating their application in changes to the target mode for the testing, right? So it is just a capability of any application team to continuously integrate their code changes for further testing without impacting others. So on their Eclipse-based IDEs, they can develop the source code, and the actual development will be done in this dev environment. Create the source code, correct? What they will do here, they will just create the source code and then what else we can perform here?
Build the source code.
Compile the source code.
Compile the source code. So let's say if you're talking about Java programming, you can consider They can able to compile their, create the Java program, compile the program, create the artifacts, and then they'll be doing the unit level testing. That means what all the program changes they made, it is completely their responsibility. Let's say this Java program is already having 2000 lines of code. Okay. And as a developer, I just want to make a small change. I just created 5 new lines, that's all. So that 5 new lines should be thoroughly tested by me. That is what unit level testing. So that unit testing is completely the developer's responsibility. To do the unit testing, they can use a testing tool called JUnit. JUnit is one of the unit testing tools. And upon thorough testing only, they'll be publishing the changes to the source code repository. It is not like as soon as they create the code, they push it to the remote repository. It's not like that. The code, whatever they push it into the remote repository, it should be thoroughly tested one. Correct. So these are all the activities can be done by any developer on their dev environment. Easy. And to perform all these activities, these kind of tools will be used for coding and development, for managing the source code, and to perform the build. So now comes a very important point, how these artifacts are created, how the code is compiled, and how the unit testing is performed. Developers are not going to do all these 3 activities manually. For that, they use a tool called Maven. So using Maven, we can able to compile the source code, create the artifacts, as well as we can able to perform the automated unit testing. Easy? Are you getting your point? Using the Maven tool. I'll talk about Maven, okay, in detail, but as of now, understand, it is one of the build tools for Java-based applications. And using that, we can able to compile your source code, create the artifacts, and then test the program. Unit level testing we can do. All these things are at the dev environment. And now, once the dev environment is done, right? As part of this dev environment, what is the result actually? The code should be published to remote repository. That is the outcome of this, right? Hope you're listening. Upon thorough unit testing, developer will publish the code to the remote environment, remote repository. That's what. So now the code is published to remote repository, and that code I have to download to my build environment. So in build environment, using DevOps approach, we are going to automate the application builds and code promotions. For that, first we will identify or clone that source code repository into the build environment. And in the build environment, sorry, after all, it's just a VM, right? See, this dev environment and all, whenever I talk about the environment, it is just a server. It's a computing environment. As like how you create your EC2 instance in AWS platform, you are just going to create a VM. And in that VM, you have to install Git and JDK and then Maven. So these are 3 tools required to perform the source code repository identification, build, unit test, verify the unit test code coverage, all those things. Easy? So it's a very important for interview. Okay, this particular aspect is very much important. So when it comes to your DevOps approach, in order to automate your application build, what are all the steps involved? It's a very important question. They will ask you, can you get the list of actions that you perform on the build environment? Means first thing is you have to clone or identify the source code from the source code repository. Because as I said already, repository URL will be provided by the developers, right? We are not going to create the repository. Developers create the source code repository and it will be shared with the DevOps team. So using that repository URL, we are going to clone it in the build environment. Once the code is available in the build environment, using Maven, we can able to build the code. That means we can compile the source code and create the artifacts. And then we can able to perform the automated unit testing. And once the testing is complete, we can verify the test coverage. Like consider I have tested 5 scenarios. Whether all the 5 scenarios are tested successfully or not, that verification should be done here. And then the artifacts, whatever created here, it can be stored in the artifact library. Artifact library means it is a kind of a repository which is used to version control your binaries. So we were using GitHub, right? What is the purpose of GitHub? It is used to version control the correct. Whenever we create any source code, that source code can be version controlled using your GitHub. And once the source code is compiled, you'll be getting the artifacts, right? The artifacts means it can be in the form of binaries, like I was selling here. Right. So assume that the very first version of my program I have compiled and I've created the artifacts. So when I create the artifacts, the version of the artifact will be something like this, like my PGM war file. Sorry. So my PGM dot war file will be there. So when I say my PGM dot war file, it is just an application artifacts. So for each and every code change we do, we can able to maintain the version number like v1.0. Similarly, when I make any incremental change in the program, I can create another version. Like this, we can able to make n number of changes or versions of your application artifacts. Easy. Let's say you installed Git in your machine, right? Guys, all listening, no?
Yeah.
What is the
Yes.
version of Git? It will be 2 point something, correct? Similarly, you must have installed Visual Studio Code. You must have installed Mobile Xterm, Eclipse. So each and every software which you download, it will be having its own version number, correct? So this version number is what something we called as a tag in order to uniquely identify that version. So your application artifacts also will be having n number of versions as like your application source code. So how you can able to version control this means by using the application artifact libraries. So there are some application libraries, artifact libraries like a JFrog or Azure artifacts. I'm just giving some examples now. So using this, we can able to version control the artifacts. So this is used to easy. I agree your point. Tomorrow, once we start with Docker module, I'll show you how to version control Docker images. Like this, at each and every level, each and every outcome of your application component can be version controlled. That's what happened here in the build environment. It is not like we create an artifacts and it is just, saved in the build server. It will be maintained as a separate artifact library like JFrog. JFrog is one of the artifact libraries. And from that artifact library only, the code will be promoted, the application artifact will be promoted to the higher environment. Like from build environment, we'll be promoting it to QA environment for further testing. And once it is promoted to a higher environment, we have to notify the testing team to take it for further testing. Easy? Are you comfortable with this flow now?
Yes, sir.
Guys, it might looks very theoretical because it's all a process-based activities. Correct. Once we start with our Jenkins module, you can able to see all these process with a demo. I'll show you how to automate starting from your cloning the repository till you code promote and notify. I'll show you how to automate it through Jenkins pipeline. But this particular session, today's session will be completely to understand your build process. If you're feeling it's very boring means, let me know. We can have a quick break in between. That's not an issue. But don't sleep in between, okay?
Uh, I mean, Sai, actually, after that, it will push to JFrog Artifactory, right? So, like, are we going to discuss about these things, JFrog or Azure Artifactories?
No, we never. Maybe once we start with our artifacts, right? That is your Azure pipelines. There we'll be
Mhm.
discussing about Azure artifacts.
I mean,
But
but here we can just only basic things we can get, right? I mean, like pushing and pulling, right?
yes, we
Got it.
just push it to the remote repository, and from there we can able to deploy target environment. We are not going to discuss anything on JFrog here.
Okay.
Got
So,
it?
by any chance, we can discuss about Azure Artifacts, we can, right?
During your Azure module, we'll talk about Azure artifacts.
Okay, okay. Because in the flow only we can able to understand.
That's what. No, this Azure artifacts is a completely different flow.
Okay.
On there also, we'll be talking about all these activities on
And
your Azure platform.
so I'm just curious to ask you because in the Jenkins we used to write the pipelines, right? So I'm just asking whether can we involve this JFrog or Azure in the pipeline, or else normally we're just pulling like pushing to the general repo.
See, I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
The tools, whatever we are learning here, right? Like we learned about Git. Today we are learning about Maven. Tomorrow you'll be learning about Jenkins and then Docker and then Ansible, Terraform. Like this, we'll be learning each and every tool. And finally, once you complete all the tools, we'll integrate everything together. There only your actual flow you can be able to understand.
Yeah,
These are
yeah.
just a building blocks, okay? We're just
Okay.
learning each and every blocks now.
Okay.
Once you are clear with all the blocks, then you can able to frame a complete end-to-end pipeline. There
Oh,
you can able to understand how you can use artifacts, how the artifacts can be version controlled using Azure artifacts.
yeah. Okay. Got it.
Correct?
Yeah, we got it.
And if you are okay, we can able to demonstrate the same process with Jenkins, Azure, as well as AWS. I have everything, even Google Cloud Platform also I have with my project. So we can
Okay.
able to demo if you can just for comparison study actually how the same activities can be performed in Azure, how the same can be performed in Google. Like that, we can do a comparative study, and I can share those scripts also if you need. Okay,
Okay.
that's what. So this is about the activities we're going to perform in your build environment. And these are the activities that is something done by the developers in the dev environment. Okay. Now, how we are going to perform all these things? Because in both the cases, if you can see, we are going to perform the code build, code compile, code artifact creation, and then unit testing. So how it can be performed? What are all the activities or tools we need to have here that matters? So if you want, I can able to maintain. If you can just have this reference actually. What are things I said so far related to your source code repository? The source code can be version controlled using GitHub, and your artifact library means used to version control your artifacts. It can be a JFrog Artifactory or Azure artifacts for that matter. So we'll be having a complete demo with Jenkins and then Azure pipelines in the upcoming modules. Now, how to perform the build using unit testing? That is another important question, right? Because if you can see all these scenarios here, starting from your dev environment or build environment, we perform the application build, that is compile the code, create the artifacts and testing. So how to perform all these activities? For that only, we're going to use a Maven build tool. So Maven is a Java application build tool. It is used to compile the application source code. It helps to create the binaries, that is artifacts, and also it performs the unit testing. And unit testing, you know, right? It is just a process of testing the changes that are done by the developers, the unit level testing. And not only that, it can also verify the code coverage. Using a Java code coverage plugin, we can able to verify the code coverage, like how much code has been covered, how much code has been, tested. Everything can be covered as part of this. Easy. Are you getting your point?
Yes.
Now, we need to understand about this Maven build tool. Like you need to know how the Maven tool works. What are all its dependencies? How we are going to manage this? So as part of your Maven build tool, let me put some pointers here for you to understand the process. Listen carefully, guys. We are going to learn about the Maven architecture now. Architecture means we are going to demonstrate how this Maven tool can be used to perform application build and artifact creation, and also to perform unit testing. Okay. So to do that, first of all, you need to understand what is a Maven. I believe you know what is a Maven now. What is a Maven now? Hmm?
Used for compiling the code.
Compile the code. The tool which is used to compile the code.
Maven is just a tool, right? It's used to compile a source code, create the artifacts, and then
Version control the artifacts.
version control the
Artifacts.
Okay, fine. Now, so before you actually understand or try to learn about the working principles of Maven, let's understand the project folder. Like when I started this session itself, I gave you something on application project workspace, right? Every application language, programming language has its own components in the workspace. For example, in your previous module, while working on Python, you must be using your .py Python programs in the folder, correct? Remember,
Yes.
we studied about Python, right? For your batch?
Yes.
Huh. Hope you all remember. So if it is a console application, you must be using .python. If it is a web application, what are the components you add in that folder? Have you used templates directory? Sample.html?
Template index.html, CSS.
Guys, how many of you
Yes.
practiced Python module?
Yes. Yes.
Have you all practiced it or not?
So templates is the default folder for Python-based applications, right?
Python web-based application, if you're using Django framework, right? I told you. Similarly, within the templates, you can have resources like HTML resources with index.html or sample.html file can be maintained. So for that particular Python-based application, that is a folder structure. Similarly, for Java-based application, there is a strict folder structure, depends upon the Java application build tool. Let's say if you are going to create a Java web application project using Maven, means this is how the project folder should look like. So your project folder name, let it be Maven_project1. It's a folder name. Within that folder, you'll be having src. That is a subfolder. And within the subfolder, you can have another subfolder called main. Within this main folder only, developers will maintain their application source code, the business logic. It's all just a folder structure, okay? This is a main folder that is represented as a workspace directory or a project name. And within that, we can have a subfolder called src, where we can have main folder to maintain the business and the test folder to maintain the test case and test scenarios. Like if you want to perform the unit testing, you have to prepare some test cases. developers will prepare some test cases that will be maintained in this test folder. And once the application build is completed, the artifacts will be maintained in the target folder. But a target is a folder name that maintains the application artifacts. That is the outcome of your project. Okay. So if you remember in our Jenkins module, what is it Jenkins? What is it called? Git module. We talked about git ignore. Remember? What is git ignore?
We can hide that file.
Ignore the full file here.
What is it?
It is used to ignore the files from tracking.
So there I use the term, right? Target folder and artifacts. Do you remember now? So these target artifacts are just the outcome of your application code, right? We are not going to version control these changes in source code repository, but still you'll be maintaining it as part of their local workspace. And in addition to this, right, there is something called pom.xml file. So this pom.xml file is one of the inputs to your Maven project. Like if I say Maven is a build tool, and if you want to understand how Maven works means, it actually works based upon the pom.xml file. Because this pom.xml file, it acts as a single point of source to perform the Maven build. In this XML file, developers will maintain the application artifacts, properties, the plugins, and all the required dependencies. Like how I want to build my program, what will be the name of my application artifacts, whether I want to create a WAR file or a jar file, what are all the plugins needed, like JUnit plugin, or I need a TestNG or Selenium, what are all the plugins I need. All these things will be defined in this pom.xml file. It is one of the important input file to Maven project. And once you trigger the build, all the Maven components, the libraries, will be generated in a separate folder called JRE_libraries and Maven libraries. So these are the components that is required to perform your application build. I'll show you how the source code repository looks like and how the pom.xml file looks like, everything. Got it? So first entity is pom.xml file. Now, the very important point here is it is completely the application developer's responsibility. Developers will create the pom.xml file to perform the Maven build, because only developers know what type of artifacts they want to create, what is the name of the application artifacts, right? And which testing tool they want to use for testing. All these things only developers know. So it is completely their responsibility to create the pom.xml file and maintain the source code repository. Correct? So using this Maven, we can able to perform the entire application build. For that, this pom.xml file acts as an input. So what does pom.xml file means? Project object model. This is the next. This is what actually pom.xml means. It's just an XML file. And what we are going to actually maintain in this pom.xml file means it will be part of any Java application project source code repository. First thing. And it is used to define the properties of the application artifacts. Properties means what is the name of the artifacts, what type of artifacts you want to create, right? And what are all the dependencies and the plugins required to perform the build and unit testing. All these things will be defined in this pom.xml file. All right. Now, let's say, for example, I told you there is a build environment. In this build environment, I have to install Maven, because using Maven only I'm going to perform build. And to install Maven, I need JDK, because JDK is a prerequisite for Maven. Correct. And then we'll be using Git also to download the source code. But apart from that, if I want to perform unit testing, I need to install the unit testing tool here, right? Yes or no? If I
Yes,
want to
sir.
perform unit testing, I need a unit testing tool. That tool has to be installed, but we no need to manually install it. Okay. So which testing tool you need to install, that can be defined in this pom.xml file as a dependency. That's what. So we can able to define the unit testing tool name in this pom.xml file. When you trigger the build, it will search for the tool and the build server. If the tool is not present, it will automatically download the tool and perform the build and unit testing. Easy? So that is what the main advantage of using Maven based project. Why most of the enterprise or projects are based upon Maven or a Spring Boot framework means, as a developer, I can focus only on my application logic. I can create the application, maintain the source code repository, and to perform build, what are the dependencies I need, I just define a pom.xml file, that's all. So with the source code and the pom.xml file, this project can be built in any target environment. Even in the target environment, if there is no build tool present, that doesn't matter. It will automatically get installed. If there is no unit testing tool, it doesn't matter. It gets installed automatically. That is how the developers will maintain all the dependencies in this file and make that component built on any target build environments. You see? So how this Maven can able to, how this pom.xml file can able to identify the dependencies means it uses a Maven repository. So there is a repository called mvnrepository.com. It is a Maven repository. Like if you can see my screen. So it is a repository where we can able to see the Maven plugins and dependencies that you want to use in our build environment. For example, if you are interested in JUnit testing tool, see, we have JUnit testing tool available here. And with this, you can able to see various versions of the tool. Like the latest version is 4.13.2. If you click on this, you can find the script that can be downloaded to your build environment. Something like this. Okay. Similarly, consider I want to do a testing, but to do a testing, I need a Selenium tool. Selenium is a testing tool. Got it? If you want to install Selenium testing tool, it is completely a different process. But through Maven, you can able to quickly install and configure. Let's say if you go to this Maven repository and search for Selenium, you can see the tool available here. Just click on the version number, and this is how the Selenium dependency can be identified in your pom.xml file. Got it? So which tool you want to install? What is the Artifactory ID and the version number? That is considered as a dependency in the pom.xml file. You see? So this is how the developers will prepare the pom.xml file. Once this is done, automatically, when they trigger the build, this file will get identified and capture all the dependencies and installs it. You see? And also there is another interesting thing called code coverage. We have something called Java code coverage. So this is something used to cover the percentage of the code that are covered as part of your build. Okay, Java code coverage plugin. This is also available from the same Maven repository. Right? So in order to work with Maven project, the very first thing is your pom.xml file. And the next important entity here is Maven goal. Maven goals. Maven goals are nothing but the commands that you want to perform or that you want to execute to perform any task. Okay. So, for example, there is a command called Maven compile. So if you look into this list here, these are some predefined commands which we can use to perform some sort of code compilation, testing, or packaging or clean. So when I say MVN is a command line utility, as like how we use Git command line utility, we use MVN. Once you install Maven in the tool, in that server, you can use this MVN command to perform the desired action. Consider I have a source code repository with my application code along with the pom.xml file. Now, my requirement is I just want to compile the source code. As a developer, my requirement is just to compile the code and capture the compilation errors. I'm not interested to perform unit testing or artifact creation. I just want to compile the source code and check for the compilation error. If there is a requirement, we can use a Maven code called Maven compile. If I run a command mvn compile, it will just compile your source code. If my intention is to perform the code compilation as well as unit testing, I can simply say mvn test, because this mvn test will compile the code as well as perform the unit testing by using the JUnit dependency, whatever you have in your pom.xml file. No need to say compile and test. The test itself will do code compilation and then unit testing. And another interesting thing is package. Assume that your intention is to create an artifacts of your application source code. So to create artifacts, what we should do first, we have to compile the code, perform the automated unit testing, and once the testing is completed, the artifacts will be created in the target folder of your project library. This is the target folder. Here it creates artifacts. Easy. So package, it will just compile a code, create, test. Perform unit testing and then create the artifacts. And another interesting thing here is clean. Maven clean command used to clean your target folder. Why? Because whenever I perform the application build, it is going to create a new artifacts. Before I create the artifacts, I want to clean up the target folder. That's my requirement. So this clean command will clean the existing target folder. It deletes all the war file that is present in the target folder. And if required, you can create a new package there. For example, if I say mvn clean and package command, what it mean? What you can understand from this command here?
It will clear the previous artifact as well as it will compile, test, and build a new artifact.
Okay. So when we say clean and package, it will clean up the existing target folder and then it will compile the source code, perform the automated testing as well as create the artifact. Just with two goals, we can able to achieve the entire thing. Easy. So what is the Maven build tool now? It is used to perform the Java application build as well as application artifact creation and unit testing. And in order to work with Maven, we have to understand two important entities. One is a pom.xml file. Another thing is Maven goal. So when I say pom.xml file, it is used to maintain all the dependencies and the plugins that are required to build your application. And internally, it uses the Maven repository to manage all the dependencies or capture all the dependencies. And apart from this particular pom.xml file, there is something called Maven goal. This is the command that we execute to perform package creation or code compilation or code testing. Easy. And very important thing is this POM.xml file also should be part of the Java application project source code repository. And it is completely owned by the developer. We even as a DevOps admin, we cannot make any changes in the POM.xml file. It is completely based upon the application component. Any question here? Any question? Okay, I'll give you another 5 minutes break for you to wake up. Then I'll talk about the next topic. Okay. Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Just one thing. All these tools we will be learning or whatever we are learning, this will be integrated in a single platform and we will work as a whole.
Yes.
Okay.
That is what our Jenkins module is all about. This is just like,
These
preview.
are the parts we are learning in building blocks like type of.
Yes. So tomorrow, once we start with Jenkins module, I'll show you step by step how to use all these things.
There we will have you will use that Git also and
Yes.
Maven, Docker, whatever we will be learning in this.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So what is the type of J test it will be done in the source code?
Which one?
You said there is very unit testing using a J unit. So what are the tests? What is the kind of test it will do? It will check for syntax errors or function. What is the thing it will happen there? Really?
In unit testing, you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. See, consider you have written a small piece of program to calculate sum of two numbers.
Okay.
Your requirement is whether it is a Java program or a Python program, that doesn't matter. You've written a program and the objective of the program is to calculate sum of two numbers. As soon as you complete your source code, will you give it to the end users to use a program?
No, I'll just compile and test once.
You will test, right? So
Yeah.
what are things you'll test there?
I'll just check the syntax error and function logics.
Testing is different. Checking the syntax error is different.
Okay.
Your syntax error check, the compilation error check, and all done at the compilation itself.
Okay.
During the testing phase, we never check for syntax errors and all. I'm talking about the testing phase. During the testing phase, we never check for syntax error.
So
All those things will be done in the
in the
compilation
runtime,
stage
I'll
itself.
just give the input and check if it's working for correctly or not.
That's what. What are things you will test there?
I'll just give two numbers whether it is stored in a variable and it's getting executed or not.
All the possible scenarios you give, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of numbers, you can give some characters, alphabets, or decimal pointers, right? Or special characters. Like that, all the possible scenarios will be tested by the developer, right? That is what we call it as a unit testing.
Okay.
You see? So to do that, we use a JUnit testing tool.
Okay.
You see?
Okay, I understand what you said, but I never used that tool. That's why I don't know what has really happened there actually.
You never?
Actually, I never used J tool and Maven and all. I understand what is the logic behind
No,
which you are
no need to
saying.
worry about. Okay, I'm not expecting you to be, working on it. Okay, we'll be working in the next module. In Jenkins module will show you how to use all those things.
Okay.
As of now, just understand the purpose of the tool. This is to everyone here. Okay, just if I say Maven means, you should able to answer what is Maven. What is the purpose of Maven? If I say pom.xml file means, you should able to respond. What is pom.xml file? What it is going to contain? This is what actually expected as part of today's session.
Okay.
Because tomorrow, once I start with Jenkins, right, I can directly start using pom.xml file. There, you should not ask what is pom.xml file.
So pom.xml file, it's all about the prerequisites of the actual
Maven.
application
Maven project.
Maven
It's a
project.
prerequisite for Maven project. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It is defined by the developers. What are the packages needs? Which versions of the package we need for this application to be run? That's a prerequisite. We'll just predefined in the PMO file, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So, sorry, in pom.xml, all we have is these kind of files, right? Like MVN repository, the files from MVN repository, or else we will include it also.
Come again?
In pom.xml,
Mm-hmm.
we will be having dependencies, right?
Yeah.
So you said that what we will take those dependencies from MVN repository,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
Apart, so in the pom.xml file, all will be the dependencies from the MVN repository, or else there will be some other thing. Everything will be from MVN repository only, right? The
Yeah.
dependencies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if you can see this, right, while defining this dependency, I'm using the repository URL along with the dependency name, right? So it automatically acts as the input for that. Okay, so shall we continue now, guys? Okay, so you understood the context, right? Like what is a build tool? What we are going to do with the build tool? What are the various environments? What is the significance of a dev environment? What is the significance of build environment? Any question on this, please let me know. You can take another 5-10 minutes also, no problem, but be clear with the context here. At least the terminologies, whatever we used, artifacts, the build, Maven, pom.xml file, goals. Any question? Just try to recollect the terminologies, whatever we used, because these are the terminologies we are going to use in the next module, in Jenkins module. So tomorrow while working on Jenkins module, I'll be directly using the Maven package command. I never explain what is package there. I never explain about MVN command there. Got it? With this knowledge, you should be able to easily understand while working in Jenkins module. That is the expectation here. Any question?
So
Sorry?
the word compile is nothing but converting your high level language to low level language like binary.
Compilation. Here the compile is a command. It is a Maven command. The function of the command is to compile your source code. So it is just a process of checking for the compilation error, syntax error, and then it just, take it to the artifact creation.
Okay.
Great. So now, how the source code repository looks like. I just gave you a template here, just a structure of your Maven project. And this Maven project or the source code repository, DevOps team will never create in their lifetime. It is completely created, owned by the developers. They just provide this source code repository URL once the project is ready in the source code repository. Easy. So I'll show you one source code repository, how it looks like, what are all the components we have. Try to understand structure, like what are things I said here, it will be part of the repository now. All right. If you want, I can able to use some Spring Boot web application framework and share that repository. 1 minute, let me log into my GitHub account. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll prepare a separate project for your batch now. That includes your Java project. Okay, Java Maven build project, something. A Spring Boot application also we can use. So I'm just preparing your repository now. Preparing a new repository. It might take some time, just hold on. It's still preparing. All right, so it's done here. So let me put this URL for you in your chat window as well. So I just prepared a repository for your batch. And let me just have the required components. Okay, so if you can see my repository here, it is there. Okay, like if you want, I can put it in chat window. Hope you all can see my screen. Yeah, so you can access this repository now. Listen, please. So in this repository, I have a SRC folder. Within the SRC folder, you can find a main folder and the test folder, like what I have mentioned here, right? Any main project will be having SRC with the main and test as a subfolders. So this main folder will be having all the Java programs, the resources, everything. So this demo application.java, servlet initializer.java, as well as the resources which contain some application properties, and web apps which contain some web application resources like HTML, right? And something called resources. And another important thing is your test folder. Within that, you can see some test cases. Demo application test.java, which is having a test case with the JUnit testing tool. So this repository is something created by the developer. And in addition to source SRC folder, you can find some mvnw and mvnw command and all. It's all the auto-generated command files that is required for a Maven. But apart from that, there is something called pom.xml file. So if you can see this file name here, it is a XML file. Just click on that file name. You can able to see the properties of that application build. Like here, you can able to see the parent folder, which is going to identify the application framework. That is your Spring Boot application framework going to use here. And the artifacts ID is demo. And the artifact type is war. I want to create a war file name, which will be like a demo.1.0.snapshot version. And then we can give some descriptions. And this Java project is based upon JDK 17 version. It's a dependency. I cannot build this Java program with JDK 11 or any other lower versions. And then what all the dependencies we need? If you can see here, the pom.xml file, what I said about pom.xml file, it is used to define the properties of application artifacts. So this is what the properties actually. Till this, all these things are the properties of the application artifacts. Like what is the name of the artifacts, what type of it is, description, and the dependency for Java programs. And then it defines the dependencies and the plugins that are required to build and unit test. So to perform the testing here, we use Selenium and also JUnit testing tool. And then for code coverage, we can use Java code coverage. It's a plugin. So all these things are added as a dependency in this file. And in addition to that, your Tomcat server integration also is enabled here if it is not present target machine, and along with the plugins. So org.spring framework boot, Spring Boot Maven plugin is what something required to perform the build. That means when you execute your Maven goal, this command is executed based upon this plugin only. Got it? So like this, as a developer, they'll be preparing all these things. From our case, what we should do means we just have to ensure that the source code repository is having the pom.xml file. That's all. Sometimes what happens, real-time environment, developers will maintain the pom.xml file, but the versions of the tool, whatever they mentioned, it might get outdated. Let's say I want to use JUnit, but the JUnit 4.13 version is not present in that repository. What will happen? That build will fail, right? So if any build failure occurs, we can able to identify the issue and notify the developers. Like that, we can able to maintain some process automation during your CI/CD pipeline creation process. All right. So this is a simple Spring Boot web application folder which we can have here. And you can see when I create this project, I have included git ignore. So this .git ignore file, it is auto-generated as part of my repository creation. Remember, yesterday I was showing a demo, right? While creating a remote repository, it is having the .git ignore formats or templates. Remember? So while choosing the template, if you use Maven, you can able to see all these components. So all these components will be ignored by Git. It won't track all these things. If you want, you can edit and make some changes here. Easy. Any question on this repository? Can you all able to access this? Guys? Can you all able to access this?
Yeah.
Any question? Feel free to ask questions here. If you miss this opportunity, then I don't think you'll be getting it from me again. Because I'll be moving to next topic and you'll be puzzled whether to ask or not. Right? That's what happening most of the time. No? So any question on this build, Maven build tool? Understood all of you?
So Maven
So
is a framework or it is, what is it?
it is just a tool.
Tool. Okay.
Spring Boot
only
is a
like
framework.
okay, sure.
Okay. Any other question from anyone, please? Guys, any question?
How do we create a Maven web-based Java application from scratch?
For that, we have to learn about Java programming. As like how you learned about Python programming language, like that we have to learn about Java programming language. Which is
No. To initiate this, we need to learn Java program completely.
not necessary, right? That's what I'm saying. You for DevOps engineers, you are not going to develop any project. So even in real-time environment, developers will create the source code and they just share the source code repository URL. As like how I pinged you the URL, right? Like that, developers will share the source code repository URL. We are just going to integrate in our CSD pipeline. That's it. So if you want to learn about Java programming to create a web applications or any other applications, you have to learn it in a separate flow. But don't get confused with the development and DevOps process. Okay, if you want to be a developer, you can think about it.
Sure.
If you want to be get into DevOps means just follow what we are doing here. That's enough.
Okay.
We will be getting it ready-made thing, and now we will be have to test out, check the process for automation only, right?
That's it. Only the process automation we're going to do here.
For example, that you told for that version, we need to check the version if some error or some problem occurs during testing like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy. All good?
Yeah.
All good for all.
Yes.
Why I'm not getting much questions here? Like,
Hello, sir. Sir,
yeah, tell me
how,
please.
how, how can I able to get the access to the repository?
Which repository, sir?
Before you told me the Troy repository.
In real-time environment, you're asking?
No, just now you send that the URL right in chat.
Okay.
How can I get it that access?
You just click on that URL, you'll get access, no? The link which I pinged you, right? You're asking, no, this one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you able to see it in chat window there? Just click on
Yeah.
that. It will take you to
Okay.
this repository, no?
Okay, fine.
Can you able to access or not?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm.
No.
I have one doubt actually. Hello.
Yeah. There are a lot of
Uh,
background noise actually from.
from me, sir.
Yeah.
I just have one question. So, I mean, so with this automation, I mean, just started in these all things, right? I mean, testing and everything. So, there is a testing team like in the real time environment. You, I mean,
I don't know whether it is only for me or for others also. I very hardly hear you. Like
okay, I'll ask you
others.
later. Okay, I'll ask you later.
No, you can put in chat window also. You have a chat window, right? You can put your questions in chat
Yeah,
window. I
sure,
can
sure.
take it.
I'll do.
Because your voice is breaking actually completely. Huh?
Yeah, okay, no problem, no problem. I'll do.
Okay. Okay. And Ajit, right? Ajit, are you there on call?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Can you able to access my repository?
Not
This
getting, sir.
repository?
I'm not getting.
I pinged you this in chat window, right? Can you able to see that?
Yes, sir.
Click on that link.
Yes.
I'm sending it again. Just click on that link.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And you should be able to access this page, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just fork it. All of you, please fork this repository. I want every one of you to fork this repository because this is what you're going to use in tomorrow's session for Jenkins and all. Okay.
Yeah, done.
All right. Okay, then. So once it is forked, then it's fine. Okay. So shall we move on to the next topic now? Guys?
Yes.
Okay. So the next topic in the list is about the Jenkins. Okay. So today we'll just have the introduction to Jenkins. Just an overview, we can say. In tomorrow's session, we'll see this in detail. Okay. So listen, please. So Jenkins is one of the open source build orchestration tool. Okay. It is one of the open source build orchestration tool. Okay. So what is the need for this tool? What does the orchestration means? Why it is called as an orchestration tool? Any guess? From the term orchestration, can you able to figure out why it is? Guys?
Like coordinating multiple elements or multiple.
Right. So orchestration is just a process of combining, right? Like literally, little meaning is like combining. We just orchestrate the things, right? So orchestration, music orchestration means it is just orchestration of multiple entities. So we use Jenkins to orchestrate all your DevOps tools to do some process automation. So what are things we can able to do means like as part of your continuous integration stage, what are all things we were expecting here? Like I was talking about this, right? So we can able to automate the application build, unit testing, code promotion, notification. All these things can be automated through Jenkins. Jenkins is not a build tool. Using Jenkins, we are not going to build any application. For example, if you are using Jenkins means you can able to integrate your build tool and automate the build. So it means Maven is a build tool here. Using Maven, I can able to manually perform the build. If I want to automate the Maven build, what I can do, I can integrate this Maven tool in Jenkins, because Jenkins is capable to automate the process, any process. Similarly, Git is a tool, right? Using Git, what I can do, I can able to clone the repository, correct? For example. So if I want to automate the Git cloning activity, what I can do, I can integrate Git in my Jenkins. So using Jenkins, I can able to automate the Git clone. Similarly, using Jenkins, I can able to integrate my Maven tool to perform the application build, application testing, as well as artifact creation. You see? So ultimately, Jenkins is an open source build orchestration tool, which helps to orchestrate your DevOps tools to perform any process automation. All right. So in order to work on Jenkins, right, first we need to understand the architecture. Okay. Architecture of Jenkins. It's all very much important for interviews. Please pay attention, all of you. So Jenkins, by default, right, it is based on master slave architecture. Correct. Master slave architecture. It means we'll be having a Jenkins master and we'll be having Jenkins slave. So master is after all a VM. Okay. What we do here, actually, we create one VM, and in this VM, we install Jenkins. So in any machine, if you install Jenkins, that machine is considered as a Jenkins master node. And in any machine, if you want to perform build, that can be considered as a Jenkins slave node. So the slave node also is just after all a VM. So what is the purpose of Jenkins master node means? The Jenkins master node is used to create Jenkins projects or pipelines, jobs. To automate the process. And another important thing is it is used to schedule the bills. Slave nodes. Maybe the terminologies might be looks different or strange for the beginners, but it is not a rocket science. Okay, it's a very basic thing. Once you start practicing, I'm sure just in 2-3 days you'll be comfortable working on it. Okay. Point here is Jenkins master node. It is promptly used to create your Jenkins project. Like the project which is responsible to automate the application build, automate the deployment, automate testing, all these things are called as a Jenkins project or pipeline jobs. And a slave node is something used for application build. Perform application build. Correct. So I'll tell you the reason, okay, why we have a dedicated slave node to perform build. Why can't we do it in master? There are a lot of reasons for that. But as of now, just understand the terminology. In the architecture part, we have Jenkins master and slave. Jenkins master is just to create a project, and the project whatever we create here, it can be scheduled to run in the slave node. So ultimately, this Jenkins master maintains the Jenkins project definition and scheduling. That's all. I am talking on a real-time perspective. Easy. Now,
I have a question. So correct me if I'm wrong. So Jenkins master node is a VM in which we will install the Jenkins.
yeah.
So we will be installing Jenkins EC2 instance. So it will be Jenkins master node, is it?
Yes, that's right.
Got it.
Right. Any other question from anyone? Okay. So what is the need of Jenkins master node here? What's the purpose of Jenkins master node?
It will create pipelines and schedule the build.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sai, Jenkins slave mode, slave node, do we need to install in another VM, or else it should be in same VM, right?
Come again?
I mean, Jenkins slave node, it should be, or in it should be installed in same VM or else in other VM.
No, it will be different VM only, right? That's what the point, no?
VM. Okay. Completely different VM, slave node also.
Yeah, it is altogether a separate virtual machine here
Okay.
for scheduling. Okay. So tomorrow come prepared. Hope you all have access to AWS account, right? It's been a long time. Do you have access now or?
We have that.
Okay. So tomorrow before you join the session, ensure that you can able to log into your AWS account and able to create EC2 instances. Okay. So now let's understand this in detail. Okay. So it is just a process, whatever we were discussing in our continuous development and continuous integration phase. So as a developer, once the code is ready, we are going to automate the process using DevOps approach. So I already told you all these points in your continuous development stage. So using a Jenkins pipeline only, we can able to automate the build like this. So we can build the code, compile the code and create the artifacts, perform unit testing and code promotion, notification. So all these activities. So if you want to perform this particular activity, on which tool you need?
Maven.
And to perform this unit testing?
JUnit.
JUnit. And to do the code promotion, we can able to do some deployment tools. If you want, you can use the SSH also to copy the artifacts from one server to another server. And then to notify through email, we need a email server. So here itself, you can see there are 4 different tools required to perform this task, right?
Yes.
So if you're using those tools individually, you have to do things manually, right? Instead of that, I can able to integrate all these 4 tools using my Jenkins project. That's what orchestration means. So using Jenkins, we can able to orchestrate all these tools and to automate this process. You see? So ultimately, what is Jenkins? It is an open source build orchestration tool, which is used to automate an end-to-end application build and deployment. So most of the organizations still relying on Jenkins to automate their application builds and deployments. And using Jenkins, we can create CSD pipelines. And this is the purpose of your Jenkins master and slave node. Right? So if you guys have any question now,
Nope.
let me know.
Is it mandatory to have master and slave concept in Jenkins?
It is not mandatory, but there are some scenarios where we have to use master and slave node. I will talk
Oh.
about that scenarios, and even you can able to run your build everything in Masternode itself. It's possible. Okay, so tomorrow I'll talk about all those things in detail.
Okay.
So as part of today's session,
So, sir, can you like? So, is this? So, can you show these things is practical, like how to work on that in Selenium?
yeah, that's what we're going to do right from tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Today,
Thank
my
you.
intention is just to make you aware of the terminologies. That's all. What is a build tool? What is Maven? What are its properties? What is Jenkins? What is its architecture? That's it. So tomorrow's session will be completely based upon our core Jenkins understanding process. I'll tell you what is your roles and responsibilities there. Like as a DevOps resource, how we are going to use Jenkins. What will be your role there? Correct. And also I'll be talking about a lot of best practices and interview-based scenarios. And then we'll be getting into the live demo. So I'll be creating some Jenkins servers, slave nodes, install the required tools, perform the automation, everything I'll show you one by one. Please go with the flow.
Okay.
All right. So if you guys have any question, please let me know. We have another 8 minutes. Not only on this today's session, even in yesterday's session, whatever you have, please let me know. We can talk about it. So I'll be sharing all these things in your class notes now. So can we have a separate folder for this? Guys, if you have any question, please let me know. Don't waste your time. I will add Jenkins separate folder. Hope it helps. So tomorrow will be, the next session will be based upon your Jenkins. It'll go for another 3-4 days or 2-3 days, depends. All good? All good or any other question? Please let me know. I'm waiting for your questions.
Uh, sir, sir, can you please tell me that Jenkins master and slave node?
Jenkins master, it is just a node, it's just a VM where we install Jenkins. And the purpose of this Jenkins master node, it is just to create your Jenkins project. Like I was talking about the process automation, right? So this task definition, the process automation projects can be created in this master node. And once it is created here, it can be scheduled to run in the slave node. Slave node is used to actually run these projects. Right? Are you getting a point? So in tomorrow's session, I'll talk about more on this master node as well as slave node again, because it is not yet completed, okay? It is just a basic level. We'll see a lot of things in the upcoming sessions.
Hi, sir, could you please delete branch from the remote repository, and could you please create a pull request? I'm trying to do that, but it's not updating at my local repository as you said in the early class.
Try once, okay, and let me know what is the issue you're getting.
So the thing is, like, I have created a remote repository with the master and the feature branch. So I have deleted the feature branch, and I'm trying to pull it from the local repository with it in a git bash. Okay.
No. While pulling it, you are pulling a repository, right? A particular branch level you're doing, no?
No, at the main level, I'm doing it like just git pull.
Okay.
So as you said, the branch should be updated. That is deleted in the local
No.
repository.
When you say git pull, it will try to pull the changes from the default branch. That is master branch in your case,
Okay.
right? But when you try to pull your changes from the remote repository, just specify the branch name there, like git pull followed by the branch name. As like how you use a git push command with your branch name origin branch.
Okay.
Like this, you can use your pull command with your other branch also. If the branch is not present in the target machine, it won't pull the changes.
Okay.
Right? Just give the name of that particular branch so that you can able to see the difference. Without that, it will take you to the default master branch only. You won't find the differences there.
Okay. Well, we'll try.
Right? How Jenkins slave node differ from Maven build? I'll talk about all these things visually tomorrow. Okay, not now. It is a lengthy topic. I don't want to dump everything on this day itself. For today's session, what are things I covered? Just keep those terms in mind. Tomorrow, just go through these terms once again. I'll talk about all these things in detail because this topic is a bit lengthy topic. We cannot accommodate just in a matter of 10 minutes. Okay, that's why I'm stopping it here.
Okay.
Right? So
Yes.
tomorrow it will be a lengthy session about this architecture itself. Because Jenkins architecture, I just use a term master and slave. There are a lot of reasons behind it. Why to use master, why to use slave, why can't we use master itself? And in real time, we'll be having a number of slave nodes. So let's go step by step. We'll get to know everything. Yeah, we'll be using Ubuntu machine to practice all those things. All right? Yeah, no problem. If you have any questions on today's session, everything will be addressed tomorrow. Okay, don't assume that today's session is altogether over. It's not like that. Just like a quick overview. That's what I told you, right? So tomorrow we're going to learn many things on this. Don't worry. Yeah, notes are up to date. Please make use of it. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you. If you don't have any other question, we close this call. Okay. Thank you all. Bye.